And welcome back, everyone. Okay, we're going to continue with chapter 4. But before I go on, I get yelled at from our producer because I forgot to mention that you need to subscribe to our channel. You don't need to subscribe to our channel. We'd like you to subscribe to our channel so you get notification of all the new videos coming up. That way, whenever we release one, it'll pop right up and you'll know about it. I also should remind you to go back and view the 2022 Barber exam questions and answers. Students get confused. They call us all the time. They say there's a new test. No, there's not. Or there's 2 tests, or there's 4 tests. No, there's not. There's about 1,000 questions in the computer test bank from either PSI or Pearson VUE or DL Rope. They are the testing companies. Your state does not make the test. One of these testing companies makes your test. And if you don't believe me, please ask your instructor to make this more clear for you. Okay? They have about 1,000 questions for barbers, about 1,500 for cosmetologists, and they pull randomly, just like the lottery numbers. Now, knowing last week's lottery numbers will not help you with this week, because if that were true, we would all be rich, and none of us would be wasting our time doing this, okay? It doesn't help you to know what was on the test yesterday or last week or last year. The tests are computer generated, they're randomly selected, but at the same time, it's the same 1,000 questions they're picking from over and over and over. No matter if you're in New York or Texas or Florida or Hawaii or Alaska, it's the same test bank of questions they're pulling from. The opposite of red is always green. The complementary color of yellow is always violet, and it will always be on your test. There will always be questions on these angles, 0, 45, 90, 180. I don't care what state you're in. I don't care if you're a barber or a cosmetologist. These questions will be on your test. Okay? Having said that, okay, please make sure at the end of our video to subscribe to our station so you hear about us every time we have a new video. Go back and watch the 2022 videos. There's probably 25 of them. Nothing has changed. It's not like, oh, those questions aren't there anymore. Do you think that every year they have 10,000 brand new questions? No, 2 and 2 is always 4. 2 and 2 was 4 when I was a little boy. It'll be 2 and 2 will be 4,000 years from now. Red will be the opposite of green. These things will never change. Your state laws can change, and they do change, and sadly they changed all too often. Okay, the speed limit is 55, no it's 90, no it's this, no, who cares, okay? There's only maybe 3 to 5 law questions on your test, and they're all available on the state board's website for your state. What isn't available on your state's website is what I'm telling you in these videos. I'm going to get back to what I was talking about in chapter 4 with the federal agencies. We discussed OSHA, we discussed the FDA. Now the other 2 that are not in this chapter in your book, which just goes to show how disorganized the book really is. They're 100 pages further in. The other 2 you'll need to know is the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, and the CDC, the Center for Disease Control. The Food and Drug Administration, for our purposes, only does 2 things. Okay? They are in charge of antiseptics. And your book says, and let me read it to you exactly so nobody can, argue with what I'm saying here, okay? It says about antiseptics. Antiseptics are chemical germicides formulated for use on skin and registered with the Food and Drug Administration. Page 79. Chemical germicides formulated for use on human skin, regulated by the FDA. They are hand sanitizers. They are water and alcohol. I don't care how much you pay for it or where you buy it. If you look at the ingredients, it says water and alcohol. The FDA says between 60 and 70%. Below 60 doesn't work. Above 70 is just overkill. It dries your skin, accomplishes nothing more. Antiseptics on your test. Okay? Chemical germicides formulated for use on human skin, primarily water and alcohol. The other thing you need to know about the FDA is they regulate a thing called allergy tests. We tend to call them PD test or predisposition test or patch test. 4 names for the same thing. I had a student named Ricky years ago, used to make him crazy. He's like, why does everything have so many names? I don't know. I just know it does. The FDA calls them allergy tests. They are done before hair color. nothing else, just hair color. Our industry, they're called predisposition tests or patch tests or PD tests. They are done 24 to 48 hours in advance before hair color. They tell you to take the same hair color you're going to use, put a big blob behind your customer's ear, and send the customer home for 2 days, 24 to 48 hours. Now, realistically, who's going to do that? I can just imagine telling my client, now go home, don't take your shirt off, don't take a shower, don't comb your hair, and God forbid, don't lay down and get it on the pillow for the next 2 days. No one's going to do that. I'm in this business 42 years. I've never seen one person ever do that. But you better say you're going to do it on your test if you want them to give you a license. The FDA regulates antiseptics and allergy tests. And finally, there's the Center for Disease Control. Now, they got a lot of publicity in the last couple of years from COVID. They have an idea called standard precautions. Standard precautions simply say, assume all human blood and body fluids are infected and contagious. Standard precautions. Assume all human blood and body fluids are infected and contagious. Here's how the question presents on your Barber test. You have accidentally cut your client. What should you do? Now, for most people, especially those of you who are parents, the kind of knee-jerk reaction is to try to stop the bleeding immediately. But this is not what they want you to do. Because what they're saying is, assume that person's blood is infected for something. You can't tell just by looking. If we knew just by looking at blood, doctors wouldn't do blood draws and send them to laboratories and wait 2 weeks for the results. Here's what they want you to do. They want you to stop the service, wash your hands, put on gloves, and then deal with the blood. Once again, stop the service, wash your hands, put on gloves, then deal with the blood. And if it happens to be a blood spill caused by a razor, here's what I want you to do. They want you to wash your hands, put the razor in a sharps container. It shows you this twice in your book. Then wash your hands, then put on gloves, and then deal with the customer. So dealing with the blood is either step 4 or step 5. Now, following along in this book right here, we're getting near the end of the chapter, there is a question about how they want you to handle the disinfection part. Remember they said, first you clean, then you disinfect. The disinfectant tray must be large enough that everything you put into it is completely covered or immersed or submerged. Here's what they don't want. Imagine your barbicide container. Here's the barbicide level, and here's your comb sticking up. When the inspector comes in, they will give you a fine between $25 and $50 for every single comb or brush sticking out. They could wipe out your whole week's paycheck in 5 minutes. On the test, the disinfecting container must be big enough that whatever you put into it is completely underneath the level of the liquid. If all you use is combs, a barbicide jar works great. If you use other things, you might want to go to Walmart and buy like a plastic, I think they're about $5 now, plastic shoebox. Works very well. It says it must be big enough, everything is covered by the liquid. There must be a cover on the container so nothing falls into it. But the cover must not be airtight. Okay, this is very important. It cannot be air, and the book tells you that. It cannot be airtight. It must stay in there for at least 10 minutes or according to manufacturer's directions. If the manufacturer does not specify, the default answer on the test is 10 minutes. When you take it out, you cannot do what we all do, including myself. I reach in, I get the comb, I flick the liquid, I comb your hair. No. Do not say that on the test. On the test, when you take it out of the disinfectant container, you're going to use gloves or tongs, like you are barbecuing, tongs. The point is they don't want the liquid touching your hands because over repeated times you will develop contact dermatitis and you will not be able to work anymore in this industry. They also want you to use protective eyewear. If you're blind like me, you can use glasses. Otherwise, use protective goggles. You can buy them for 99 cents in the store. You take them out using protective goggles, gloves, or tongs, and once again, you rinse them under the water. Okay? Most of you are just rolling your eyes at this point. Well, you'd be rolling your eyes more if you failed the test. Now, before I let you go on this topic, I'm going to make one simple point. Not only did 7 out of 10 barbers fail their test in the last 3 months nationwide, the average barber who failed took the test 4 times. I talked to a young man this morning in Los Angeles. His friend has now spent over $1,000 taking his test. Okay? And he's got nothing to show for it. Nothing. Okay? If you are having trouble with your test, give us a call. We do private duty tutoring. Okay? It's very simple. It's very affordable. And I will promise you it costs less than failing your test another time. Give us a call, 760-534-4434, or visit our website, cosmetology, Be sure to hit the subscribe button below and tune in for video number 3. We'll finish up this chapter. Thank you and hope to see you soon.